I need to be very transparent about this. The biggest dare to Reform UK when you see a poll that says that party is essentially on track to potentially get 18 seats. Do you think that is money well spent for you? Do you think what you're doing it should be more? Are you surprised or what?
Well, firstly, I think the party tell me my donation was the biggest of the campaign so far, so that would just be the first thing. I'd say, look, I did what I did and I donated money to the Reform Party, because I believe Nigel Farage and Richard Tye are the best political leaders to take this country forward to face down these formidable challenges that we face, in these polls that show Reform with 18% of the vote with 18 seats are demonstration. That look Reform, if a vote for Reform is clearly a positive vote to take the country forward positively. If you're sitting at home and you want real change in Westminster, you're tired of the status quo, you're tired of either bad policies or people who put forward policies you agree with and then essentially do the total opposite. Frankly, the only option, the only vote that isn't a wasted vote is a vote for Reform. So you feel pleased about the outcome. Well, look, I think the one thing, that level that would you want a better level? Is it surprising to you everything's about the momentum? In October 2022, Reform were polling at around 4%. This poll shows them at 18%. We're up against Reform, or up against the Conservative Party, the oldest political party in the world. Reform has been around in the blink of an eye compared to that, and yet look at the remarkable momentum, and we have 18-1 thing. That I'm not particularly happy about is that we have 18% of the vote share in this poll with only 18 seats. Labour 40% of the vote share, 450 seats, which just shows the formidable challenge that Reform are up against. But the momentum is clearly with the Reform Party. I'm incredibly optimistic about the future.
Well, I think it was the last time that you was on. Actually, your opposite if on this debate was Peter Hitchens, and he was telling all the viewers you shouldn't vote for the likes of Reform UK. He's saying that is essentially a vote for Labour, and the point that Zia makes there, in terms of Labour getting 40% of the vote and such a massive number of those seats, does that kind of mean that the likes of Peter Hitchen predictions ring true, or what?
Well, if this is accurate, I think Peter's arguments are moot, because the Conservative Party getting 60 seats, losing 22 members of the cabinet, including, by the way, I tweeted about this before I came on air, I didn't see the fact that Rishi Sunak and Jeremy Hunter, the two of the people that go extraordinary if that was to come to pass. And obviously,
and isn't that going to be the first time second prime he's going to lose his seat like that? Rishi Sunak, obviously.
the best of my understanding that the Liberals had something strange happen, I think, in the early 20th century, but I don't think it was like this. I think you had a former PM lose there. I think Herbert Ast lost his seat in the subsequent election, but I think that's correct. And there are so many surprises, by the way, beyond just Reform and the Tories. The Green Party getting 4 seats, Ed Davs leader of the opposition, would be the most crazy election in British history. But quickly on your point about the Conservatives, it's moot, because they're just there in freefall. And if I was a Reform member or activist, or leader, I would say there are still those 60 seats, there's 18 of us, we hunt them down in 2030, 2029, and if that does come to pass, I think you've got a even Stevens chance it's the end of the Conservative Party, because what is their unique selling point compared to Reform, which have this formidable operation, great social media? Nigel Farage, what's their selling point going to be there? Going to have no leadership all their top people have just been decapitated, so it's existential for the Tories if that happens.
Well, towards the end of the program I'm going to bring a lady into the conversation. Many of you will be familiar with KB not, but actually some people would argue, Aaron, well, you ask about the Tories, what about if they had someone like Kemi leading them at the next election, then that might change there for tea.
She loses her seat, she loses her seat, Penny loses her seat, Rishi, Jeremy Hunt, Gillian Keegan, I mean, lots of people lose their seats, so I mean Kay Bannock would be the best of a bad bunch in terms of trying to take things forward if you were ATI, suppose maybe there's still Sella, brother man, but when you've got 60 MPS, it's going to be tremendously hard, you're going to have very few top people to pick from. There was that problem in 97 for the Conservatives. But they had, what, 156, 160 MPS, now they're going to have 60.
And then is some of this we just talking in terms of percentage votes versus seats gained. Is some of this stuff going to be an argument for a proportional representation going forward, do you think?
%, if you look at the Green and Reform Tez here, quick mathematics, so forgive me if I'm not entirely correct in terms of vote share, 26% between them in terms of MPS 22, so I think it's around 3% of MPS for 26% of the vote. That is ridiculous, and the idea that the Lib Dems with 5 less than Reform will be the opposition.
I don't think that's really admissible. There's going to be millions upon millions of people in this country after this election who feel that they are unrepresented in Westminster and the system is totally unfair on them. I think the pressure is going to be overwhelming quite soon.
But didn't we have that before though, wasn't it? 2015, was it you? Your political knowledge, your history knowledge is better than mine. Was it 2015 with UKIP? They've got millions of SE of votes, sorry, in just that defection from Douglas Quell, and people would have thought then that there was disenfranchised, disconnected, and unrepresented then, so why didn't it happen then?
That point, the Conservative Party weren't on the brink of a historic wipeout. I think to do Aaron's point, this is a historic moment. We should be under no illusions about what's happening in this country. There is a total repudiation of the Conservative Party by the British elector, the which you haven't seen it before. I think that you should judge a party on their record. They've been in power for 14 years. I think that if you say that you're going to bring migration down to tens of thousands, and you do that time after time after time, manifesto after manifesto, and then you do the total opposite, the idea that people won't feel betrayed by that is fanciful. And I think the country needs real change, and I think this poll tells us that we have a real opportunity to reform, excuse the pun, the center right of politics in this country.
And I'm sure isn't it tonight is a deadline or something to get your further ID if you've not already got that. If you're someone that says, oh well, I want a vert but now this ID, you can still get that. By the way, I will come on to immigration in a second after the break, because I know it's such a hot topic for many of you at home as well. But in terms of this Gamblegate, I mean, there's a suggestion today from Mel Stride that actually you could even explore banning NPS from gambling politically all together. I mean, is that really the level that we've come to?
I think you probably have to have a very clear red line that might be unfair in a way. I personally don't see a problem with somebody betting on themselves winning. I think what happened with Kevin Craig and a GB News favorite.
I couldn't believe I'm telling you now. I could not believe it when I heard that breaking news. It pied my ear up. Well, then I saw that name. I was like, goodness graciously.
He voted on himself losing. I think that's very, very bad because you're then creating incentives to not actually try your best as a candidate. But I think you need a very clear red line. I think if you're standing for public office as a councillor, as an MP, whatever, as a mayoral candidate, I think you should be prohibited from placing any kind of bets on a political nomination or race.
Do you agree with that?
I think it is one of the times and utterly ridiculous that we even have to be having this conversation again. I think most people at home would understand that if you're running for office and you start placing bets on the outcome of an election, it is something you can directly influence. That is just wrong. Yes, we probably should have a law against it. That would be my personal view, but again, I think it's an absolute indictment. Well, a law against, for example, if you're a candidate or if you're a politician, betting on outcomes that you have some influence over.
Thanks for watching this video.